Today we're going to be covering the Titan Argos controller system network, detailing why it might be a good option for your facility. While the details of our Argos controller network are generally well known, the Ethernet network options can be a bit confusing, and it's common for Argos to get a lot of Ethernet network questions. The areas we're going to cover today include network rules, overview of the network connection types, and network design requirements. First, some common terms we'll be using throughout this video. Argos Server PC is a PC containing Argos software used to access and configure your Titan system through the Argos Access Point Controller. Switch, a network device connecting Argos controllers using Ethernet to the Argos Server PC. Access Point Controller. All Titan systems start with an access point, located near the Argos Server PC for operator access. The access point contains a Titan controller, Ethernet connection components, alarm output relays, auto dialer, a battery for emergency backup power, power supply circuitry, and the first segment of the I/O communications network. Network rules. There are several important rules associated with our networks that you need to follow, or you can run into problems with your network. No more than 10 controllers on a domain. Aquaseal usage needs one spool of wire before any repeaters. Ethernet usage needs 100 meters before a switch or a repeater of some kind. USB connections to the access point. There are no Ethernet connections to other controllers connected to the backbone. For USB connections to the access point, Ethernet can only be used for domain bridges. Connection to the access point. Ethernet is preferred over USB. It's more flexible and faster, giving more options. Ethernet switches can be used on domain bridge links to extend the network length. However, you cannot add more controllers to these switches. The domain bridge is point-to-point and only provides a link between two controllers. Argos controller network consists of connections between controllers within the same domain using Aquaseal cable and connecting using Ethernet to a network switch on a proprietary Argos communications network. LAN, also called the business LAN or Internet. The connection into the network through the switch. It must be kept separate from the Argos controller system network. Domain. Domain is a group of Argos controllers connected by the Argos controller network. Each controller connected to a network switch forms a separate domain that communicates directly to the Argos Server PC. Domain bridges. Domain bridges are used to overcome physical barriers, such as a road or gap that cannot be accomplished using a wired connection. A domain bridge is accomplished by wirelessly connecting two controllers using their Ethernet ports. IP address. A unique identifier assigned to devices on a computer network that uses the Internet Protocol for communication. It functions as a network interface identifier and for location addressing. MAC address. A unique identifier or network address assigned to network interfaces for communicating on the data link layer of a network segment. It's highly recommended that you're familiar with these terms before viewing this video, as they are not explained in detail here. The connection between the access point controller and Argos Server PC is made using an Ethernet connection, usually through a common network switch mounted in the access point cabinet that also connects the system to the business LAN. Additional controllers can be connected using combinations of the three methods as illustrated in the Argos Titan II system topology diagram. LAN connections. LAN connections are made using the Ethernet port on a controller and connecting it directly to a network switch as displayed. Each controller connected to a network switch forms a separate domain. Because each domain communicates directly with the Argos Server PC, the communications performance is potentially much better. In the topology diagram, all communications from controllers 1 to 5 and 8 to 10 need to be routed through a single Ethernet connection, while controllers 6 and 7 each have their own pipeline to the Argos Server PC. Argos controller network. The Argos controller network connections are made between controllers within the same domain. They use a proprietary 1 megabit per second communication protocol and dedicated 2-wire Aquaseal cabling on this communications network. This is the primary method for connecting controllers. Any controllers that are contiguously connected together using this method are on the same domain. These connections are illustrated by the black wires in the topology diagram. The connections must be terminated at all endpoints. The major advantage of this method is that segment and overall network distances can greatly exceed Ethernet. The disadvantage is that the bandwidth is lower. Wireless domain bridges. Wireless domain bridges are used to overcome physical barriers such as a road or a gap that cannot be accomplished using a wired connection. These are accomplished by wirelessly linking two controllers together using their Ethernet ports. Ethernet data link layer. Titan Ethernet communications using the Ethernet port use the Ethernet data link layer, which is layer 2 on the diagram. We are not directly using IP addresses, we are instead using MAC addresses. Layer 3 software inserts IP addresses as part of the layer 2 data link frames data contents. This IP address is used to connect heliospectral lamps as they require an IP address. When on the Ethernet wire, every message packet transfer starts with a MAC address. The IP address has no impact until the destination node's driver software decodes the frame's data packet. IP addresses are used to virtualize the Ethernet node's location. Network connection types. There are currently 3 types of network connections used on the Titan II systems. Pure Ethernet. A pure Ethernet connection uses only Ethernet connections to a single or multiple controller using an access point. It connects the controller to the LAN connection and Argos server PC through the switch. An access point is connected through a switch in the access point enclosure. The access point is discovered using data layer 2 MAC addresses as mentioned earlier. The Argos server PC then uses its assigned IP address for subsequent client connections. All controllers are directly connected to the same LAN as the Argos server PC. This type of single controller domain eliminates the controller network wiring entirely by connecting controllers to a single PC Ethernet network. Each controller is assigned to a unique domain. Wireless domain bridge. This refers to a wireless Ethernet link between two groups of controllers not connected to a LAN subnet. Domain bridging was developed to provide wireless point-to-point RF links between groups of controllers. A typical situation is one where there's a physical barrier, such as a road, that does not allow cabling to be used between controllers. An example would be a wireless link between controllers in greenhouses to a controller in a pump house located a kilometer away. A side benefit of wireless domain bridging is the fact that cross-module messaging between controllers on the same domain is not seen by controllers on other domains. For wireless domain bridging, we prefer there to be Argos-only devices on the link, unshared wired Ethernet switches for extending wireless point-to-point RF links. Wireless domain bridging is useful only for Wi-Fi bridging where running wire isn't feasible. Otherwise, we do not recommend this method. We also recommend connecting domains to the backbone using a switch to improve speed and simplify troubleshooting. Ethernet and controller network. This Ethernet connection is much the same as the previous type, but it also includes system network connections using Aquaseal cabling to connect controllers. The advantage here is that multiple controllers can be connected in the same domain and connect to the switch using just one Ethernet connection. The disadvantage is all controller broadcast messages are seen by all the devices on the PC Ethernet network, the business LAN, resulting in more vulnerability to malicious attacks and increased usage of network bandwidth. Network design requirements. For Aquaseal cabling, a West Penwire AQ224 2-conductor 18-gauge cable is used. For Ethernet, cable type is Cat5 and above, while RJ45 plugs are used. Minimum Aquaseal cable length is 15 meters, and maximum cable length is 300 meters before a repeater is required. The minimum Ethernet cable length is 0.5 meters, and the maximum cable length for Ethernet is 100 meters for a segment. For Aquaseal cable, repeaters are used instead of a switch. For Ethernet cable, we recommend that an industrial quality switch is used, but any switch supporting 10 megabits per second should work. The controller Ethernet network should never be shared with an office network, as there are too many possible issues to troubleshoot. These networks need to stay separate. Wi-Fi is only recommended for RF links between domains, as we talked about, across a road or a field. This equipment is supplied by Argos, so there's no need to buy additional Wi-Fi components. For the Ethernet backbone setup, simply plug in the Windows PC to the switch and the controllers to the same switch. Set up the network list in the access point as per the instructions in the online help and you're finished. Wireless is only recommended and supported for point-to-point links or extensions of the Windows PC switched Ethernet link to controller PC links. Thank you for watching the video today on Argos Ethernet Networks. For more information, contact Argos Support.